Gaming and BS episode 310, coming to you Monday, September 15th.
Whoa, Wednesday, 16th.
Oh, Wednesday. We're on Wednesday now. Wednesday, September 15th? Still the
16th.
16th? Coming to you the second Wednesday of September 2020.
We don't math or weekday very well. Sorry, people.
All right, welcome to Gaming and BS Tabletop RPG Podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome back. Glad everybody's on board. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing fantastic, Brett. How are you?
Not bad. We got the audio knocked out early for the show on Twitch, so that's good. We don't have any problems now. This is good. Very good.
Everything is fine until somebody in the chat goes, can't hear Brett anymore.
Son of a bitch. But you know how to...
Can't lost Sean.
Oh. But, well,
we'll be
one of those is better than the other. Well, you vote. Call in and vote now.
That's right. You decide.
You decide. Get any gaming in, man, since we talked?
So I gamed on Sunday with Hobbs and OSE, and he did a TPK. I think everybody died except one character.
That's not a TPK then, dude. Total equals
so it's
all.
not... Yeah, that's true, I guess.
As an MPK, mostly party killed.
So we're going to play low fantasy because he thinks that maybe it's the style of play. Hawk's lost like 5 characters, so he's kind of like, maybe we need something that's a little more survivability. Oh. So we're going to do low fantasy, and it's I don't know if he's going to join the chat, but it's a setting. I don't know if it's pre-published, but it's kind of a demi-plane setting, but it's done in...
Is it the low fantasy one?
I don't know.
Okay, well...
It's not Midlands.
Okay.
Which is the default for low fantasy. Right. So it's something else. Kind of takes in like an urban, kind of an Avalon-ish feeling.
All right.
I don't know what it is. Hobbs is running. There's a name to it.
So to compensate for poor play, he's going to just change the game. I'm kidding.
Kinda, I guess.
All right. No, hey, what the hell, man?
Yeah. And then Tuesday, which would be last night, Stars Without Number.
How'd that go?
Which is going okay. It's going okay. Going well. Crystal's GM in that. We're flying around the universe and trying to pay off our ship.
Nice.
And getting caught up with different things. So yeah, it's fun.
Good.
I'm not. I think it would be a lie if I said I was fully engaged. She is probably fully aware of that. I am engaged, but not like. I'm not taking spotlight for sure. Shocker.
Yeah, I know. You like to sit a little bit in the background. Well, it's all right though.
You know. You?
Yeah, I got last night was the Streets of Avalon game for my home crew. That went really well. Using the Pathfinder system there. They it was a big goddamn brawl. They ran into I pulled out an old critter that I remembered while sorting through an old monster manual, the Morkoth, which is this weird underwater maze Leviathan-y type of thing. Not really Leviathan, but it's had different iterations through D&D. And I dropped the name as part of the one of the groups, one of the peoples there, the Bargemen, kind of as a mythology piece for them. And Alpha, playing a Bargeman, ate that up. He's like, oh, there's a cool backstory. So he's eating up the history there. And the rest of the group's like, do we know what a Morkoth is? You know, kind of metagaming. I don't even know what the hell that is. And I've also introduced some nasty little frog-fish monster things. They have yet to figure out what they are, even though I've used some what I thought were pretty obvious clues. But I'm refusing to explain to them what the creatures are. So, because they continue to be terrified of them. They've died easily so far, but they do a lot of damage when they hit them, so they're really afraid. But they dealt with this evil cultist. Turned out to be the head of the Temple of Poseidon. Was also this horrible evil cultist. So it was a big goddamn brawl. It was a big fight. Alpha made a mistake. He had the ability to transform himself into a minor water elemental, and completely forgot he was fighting a guy who is an evil water cultist mage guy. So I just controlled him and had him try to beat the crap out of the rest of the party for a while. Which didn't work too well because apparently Alpha is a complete wuss when he's a water elemental. He could not hurt the party at all. But it was a damn good time. Big brawl. Lots of fun. people running around through the maze trying to figure out where it was. Then finally dawned on somebody that, wait a minute, Brett keeps saying that it's shifting and changing. Does that mean it's not the way I left it? Oh, yes, there you go. The maze was changing on him. It was lots of illusions and craziness. So it was fun. They got their asses kicked. They lived, but barely. Yeah, it was good. Almost drowned them a couple times. It was all good. Other than that, not much, brother. That's about it. Let's see here. Oh, announcement-wise, we have Virtual Gamehole Con coming. That's going to come up pretty rapidly here. Let's see. Registration, badges available, all that good stuff. Any other announcement-wise, Sean? Anything big going down?
Nothing big going down that I can think of. Other than D&D Winter Fantasy, I think is coming up, but that's, I think they're doing a big Rime of the Frost Maiden spiel. So if you're participating, that's coming up in October, or if I'm not mistaken.
So we'll put a link in the show notes to this as well. But Sean has been playing with Foundry. Was that the
Foundry Virtual Tabletop? I may put out a video on how to RPG, on how to use some of the things in Foundry. I'm fairly impressed.
Yeah, you were saying it doesn't use layers, feels very intuitive. The macro creation's pretty cool. So I know we've had the mention on the show that this was a tool out there, but Sean's been digging into it more. So we'll put another link out there in case people want to take a look at it. But Sean was pretty impressed. And in the age of more and more virtual gaming, you find a decent platform that works for you. Why not,
It takes some muscle in the beginning, and then after it's in place for a game master to run a game, it is
pretty
easy. It is much, much easier and intuitive, in my opinion, than some of the others. But yeah, Bride of Cyclops Con is coming up too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
So,
all right, man. Let's random encounter.
It's random encounter, man. Random Encounter, a segment of the show where we field emails, voicemails, comments from social media. We have 2 voicemails this week. First one is from Mr. Chris Shorb.
Hey, Brett and Sean, calling in about your most recent episode about sourcing the table. And I think sourcing the table is pretty awesome in certain situations, if done in a very specific way. So first of all, never source a table for names. Unless you have some savant at your table who's really good at names, never source a table for names, because people are not ready to come up with a name, and they feel like names have power, because names do have power. And then, otherwise you're always going to get the name Bob. And so just don't source the table for names. It just brings people out of the moment. Second thing is, I like to give the players agency over their own stuff, but not necessarily agency over the world. So, like, for an example is, hey, you come to this new town, Frodo, what is it about the town that makes Frodo think the town is creepy? So what I've done there is I have said that the town is creepy because I own the town, but Frodo gets to say that gets to say what it is about him that is creeped out about the town, and then he also gets to say some detail about the town that's not critical, but now becomes true. And that is how I think sourcing the table should work, and it definitely doesn't work in games that have a GM through line, like a Wizards of the Coast adventure pack. It will work for other situations, but I don't think a game that is an adventure path, you're on the rails, baby. Maybe you have the opportunity to make some decisions and things can go a little bit in different ways, but ultimately everything there has already been preset. I think that's all I got to say about sourcing the table. Great topic, and as always, you guys are awesome. So take it easy. Bye.
Nice.
So we learned that a lot of people are named Bob.
Yeah, or Bodie McBoatface. We talked about that last time.
Bodie McBoatface.
That. I don't know if I agree. I like the idea of not sourcing names, because I'll tell you what, when you say, hey, give me a name, that from my experience, I think Chris is dead on. That will stonewall people. If you ask the question, why are you creeped out by this town? I love that. It's a leading question, right? I'm already giving you something. When was the last time you had a drink? When was the last time you had a flat tire. It indicate you had a thing happen. This is now, those leading questions like that are cool. I think that's a really good way because it takes some of the pressure off the person you're asking because you've led them with some really good data. They don't have to be absolutely 100% creative. They've got something to bounce off of. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and what Chris is alluding to as well is that you are posing a question to the player and the player character a little more, right? That seems to be more of an emphasis than, okay, you're going to go to a town far away. What's the name of the town? Or there's a bad person there. What's, who is that bad person related to you or whatever? When it's more personal, like, when's the last time you took a drink?
Yeah, or hey, you're going to the town called Maastricht. You've coming into Maastricht. Is this somewhere your guy would have been? Because it's pretty within. He's a ranger. He's been outside. Was he have been to Maastricht before? Do you think? No, he stayed away from that town. Okay, cool, good to know. I mean, that type of piece. Right. I like that. I think what Chris is getting at and Chris, you're not here for me to hit with this directly, but when you say the adventure paths, they do have a little bit more of the rail feel, right? Because they're written down. They're pre-made adventures. I think you can change that stuff. You can change any name you want. It's your thing. It's your goddamn adventure. You can do whatever you want. However,
do what I want.
There's more work involved potentially there, right? Because if you're going along and you change the name of the mayor, you change the name of the thing, you adjust the monster type. If you go crazy with table sourcing and it's no longer a dragon but a bugbear chieftain, a lot of work to do, right? So yeah, there's only, I don't want to say so much. If you want to stay true to the adventure as it's designed, as it's written, yeah, I could see where that would cause consternation, uproar, and a fuck ton of work for the poor game master to try to sort that sucker out. So I buy that. I buy that from that angle. That makes sense to me. Thanks, Chris. Good stuff, though. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Who's up next?
Let me get into Mr. Watkins.
Hey, Mike Watkins again. I'm Damon Kanan on the forums. I always feel weird, like, calling myself this made-up name that's not my real name. But, so that's me on the forums. And you're talking about having the players create stuff. And this is a rule inside of Burn Bright, which is only on Roll20. And the adventures for it, what is it called? Burning Daylight. It's literally written into the adventure that you go to a casino planet and your shit gets worked on. And then while you're there, you stay at a place. And one character comes up with the name of the place, which is Boland Stay. Another player comes up with what they do there, and they have bowling, obviously. Another one comes up with a key feature where your room and everything is made out of glass, so you can see everything and you can see people bowling. And then I think the other one is you could come up with another thing like something to do there. Somebody on their YouTube channel came up with there was a VR game called, I think, Bowl and Die. And of course, they all died. But like, you don't have to do anything. Your players just make it all up. And it's not just names or names of places or names of people, but they actually come up with stuff. And as a DM who just has dice and a grocery list or some doodle pads that I'm drawing pictures of funny people behind the DM screen, I'm not actually like doing anything important back there. It's all just in my head. That's really cool because I'm already doing that anyway. And then you let the players come up with it, so they're more invested in it. But I can see those certain DMs that have a game where they want to create every little thing and control everything, but it's not for everybody. But don't just let the players make up names of stuff. Let them make up stuff you do there. Like, oh yeah, this tavern here, it's, they have a Beyblade tournament in the basement that you can compete in, that kind of thing. Thanks.
I like that, man. I think Mike, you've got some good points there. I think one of the pieces that you said there, which we try to say often, is it's not for everybody, right? And some folks really love the improv. I'll say improv theater. That's probably too strong, but that absolutely improvisational component of it. And if you get the right group and they're just really singing together and everything's working really well, you've got a great opportunity to have some incredible improv moments like that to happen. And sometimes when it's happening, one of the coolest things a game master can do is step back and not get in the way, but just kind of tap it and help it along. And that's a different type of skill. It almost reminds me of running a large troubleshooting meeting for an IT team. There's a skill involved with letting really smart people be really, really smart, figure things out, go down the rat holes they need to, come back and do things, and kind of where you tap it, to keep people on target. The same type of thing, from what I've been told by my friends who have either acted professionally or acted a lot just for funsies, went to college for it type of thing. There's, a really good director, a really good person in that, kind of that game master role. You're just kind of on the outside. I'm saying tapping it, like you're just waiting, and then you're giving somebody just a little bit more momentum, just a little bit more to work with. Again, that's a skill not everybody has, not everybody even wants to develop. And some tables are flat uncomfortable with it. But what Mike's talking about, I could definitely see that being a good time with the right group. I could have a blast doing that. That's really good stuff. So thank you, Mike. That was good examples.
Yeah, thanks,
too.
Mike,
Appreciate
as
it.
always.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff.
All right.
You can read.
Starting out with Edwin Nagy from Maine. Howdy BNS, talking about descriptions on demand a couple episodes ago. Good episodes, some thoughts on them from Maine. Men. Descriptions, lots of ideas and discussions about GMing bring up for me the teacher training I've undergone and what works in the classroom. In this case, the parallels are obvious. Teachers ask students questions to keep them engaged, and sometimes because they don't know the answers. Some students don't like being asked questions for a variety of reasons. Some of the ways we reduce the threat level of the questions we ask, you covered. One big one that we do is think, pair, share. Here's a question. Think about it for a moment. Maybe write something down and then share it with your buddy. One of the important parts of this is giving people time before they have the answer. So maybe you walk into the bar. I'm going to describe the bar, and when I'm done, maybe some of you can give me the name of the bartender and that kind of local drinks are on, what kind of local drinks are on the menu. You describe the bar. I'm going to grab a slice. Give me a minute. Okay, anyone have a bartender name? This is too much to do often, but I think could be done effectively when to increase engagement. If this is going to be an important bar, it's worth getting their buy-in through their investment in time. Sean brought up a point that I felt like didn't quite get across that I think is worth considering. What? I didn't get a point across? What?
Hey, just shut up, Sean. We got something to talk about here. Keep going.
I think Sean was trying to make a parallel to when sometimes you ask for a role and sometimes you don't. It leads players to focus on the times you do. Similarly, if sometimes you have a name and sometimes you source it from the table, it may actually have the reverse effect hoped for. Players may disengage from the NPCs with table source names or descriptions because they are obviously less important. I think an answer to this is for the GM to immediately and repeatedly over time bring this information back. This rewards the player that came up with it and makes the info important.
That's a very good call out. I'll just jump in, Edwin. Thank you for calling it out. Yes, I do think Sean was trying to get that across. If I was too damn thick at the time to get it or didn't help him. But yeah, that's smart. That's very smart. Yeah. I totally get the parallel, Sean, where if you only call for roles when it's the potential for death, it's the and if you always ask for names and they don't ever frickin' matter, what's the point, right? So totally get it. Keep going.
Easy wins. I kept thinking as you were describing various ways. Okay, easy wins, different episode. I kept thinking as you were describing various ways to get around playing out fights that you were simply talking about different game systems. Some game systems have a barter system for success. Knights Black Agents, how many points do you want to spend? Some games have random effects for success, mostly board games that I could think of. All these tools are valuable and can be used to set a mood, keep up pace, etc. But all risk kickback with players that like what they like and don't want chocolate in their peanut butter.
Fair statement.
If you have had many episodes that for me come to that, and often you acknowledge it. Are we playing BX, Fate, or PBTA? Why did we choose this system, and do we like it? For my own gaming, I like to get my difference more by playing different games than by mixing in bits of other games into what I'm playing. This allows my reality to be closer to my expectation, which makes me less cranky. Too many words. Edwin,
I like these points, man. I think on the easy wins piece, and as you said, there's the risk of kickback, right? Some people don't want chocolate in their peanut butter. It's a thing. I've also talked about in the past too. Sometimes you get a group that they like the D20 system. They like GURPS. They like the Call of Cthulhu BRP. They like that thing. For whatever reason, they don't mind some other stuff being added into it, right? They don't mind the sugar cookie with sprinkles. They're fine with that, or throwing peanuts on it, or whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, I do get that. And I think that what you talk about, getting the difference of gameplay by playing different games is an absolutely legitimate way to go about it. That's totally cool. And that's where I think a lot of people then say, oh, just play a different game. Oh, you should try this other game. I think what people are doing generally are not trying to tell anyone, if I put the best spin on it, that, hey, Brett, your game sucks. PBTA is so much better. What they're saying is the type of thing you're describing, this game actually enforces, hey, you should try that and see if it actually does what you want it to do type of thing. So I appreciate that. Sean, what do you think, man? That was good stuff.
Edwin's full of gold.
Always. Spitting gold. Spitting diamonds.
I wish I could reach into his mouth and pull some out. That seems very off.
Well, if I hold them down, you get the pliers. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Edwin. Rory commented.
Thanks, Edwin.
Rory commented.
Rory.
On descriptions on demand. Most of the questions that the Alexandrian posted in his article are horrible examples. We referenced an article about descriptions on demand by the Alexandrian, which is what Rory's commenting on. Anyway, I play to explore and discover the mysteries of the world I'm playing in. I want to find out what the mayor's secret is and figure out a way to stop it. If I find a secret dire and the DM says, okay, tell me what you found there, it takes me out of the game as a player. Cuts the legs off from under the whole process. The situation can work when a player is discussing his backstory. Throngar the Mighty comes from the swamp town of Madison. I think the following are reasonable things for the DM to ask during play. What did your father do in Madison? You grew up there. How do the town folk you grew up with feel about generic war 10 years past? What are your uncle's names and occupation? Questions that are about the player's character are acceptable to me. I'd rather backstory came out in play rather than from an 8-page sheet. Why did you chase down that goblin to stomp his body into a pulp? Goblins burned my neighbor farm as a kid and killed my dog. I'd rather get that made up on the spot. It's personal to the character. Also, Brett, asking the players who grew up in the neighborhood to describe the perceived relationship an NPC has to other players is cool, but actually define the NPC and co-create the world? No. We're not co-writing a book, nor are the players DMing. We're playing an RPG. My contribution is what my character does and says. Same with the other players. Frankly, Brett, if I were at your table, I'd rather you ask me for 10 NPC names, jobs via email before the game, if that's something you know you're bad at. Having it come up during game would take me out of the game as surely as a discussion about who has seen the last episode of The Witcher or whatever sports ball team played last night. My 2 cents. Sorry for late reply. Rory, sorry. Rory, no worries in a late reply, man. I think this is a great comment here because this is stressing one of the things I hoped that Sean and I try to get across is that it's not for everybody. And honestly, I think the Alexandrian, his comment of it's bad type of thing, or it's a terrible idea, just not, it's obviously not true. Some people dig this stuff, as we've heard from other people who've written in, and we talked about. Some people, this is fucking gold, man. This is spitting diamonds. They love this shit. It's not your thing, and that's totally legit. And I think it's one of those pieces when we talk about how you like to game, what you enjoy, the more refined your taste gets, or the more refined your ability to provide examples of what you like and don't like. This is a thing, I think, that it's worth bringing up to the players and game masters. Like, hey, I don't like doing that. Somebody else might say, oh, I don't mind it. And you might say, you know what? That's cool. As long as Sean does, just don't ask me because it's not my bag type of thing. So I like the comment, Roy. This is good stuff. Sean, any comments on this?
No.
No? You good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Rory.
Thanks, man.
All right. Roger Braslett gets back to us on descriptions on demand. Speaking of late replies, you guys covered the subject perfectly. I don't know about that. And you know me well enough to speak for me anytime.
It was Roger's topic after all. So
It was, yeah. Here's the thing. When I'm sitting down at your table, especially for the first time, I don't know your world. I don't know your tropes. I don't know your rails. Is my idea totally off track with your world? A blank slate is intimidating, and who even knows where to start? On the other hand, when I'm thrust in this situation as a GM, I know my world. I know my local personalities. I know how to keep things in my comfort zone. I can go on with too much detail on demand. Thanks for this episode.
Roger, no worries, man. I love the simple statement, keep things in my comfort zone. I think there are times when we could say, oh, get out of your comfort zone, man. Try. And that's fine. We can try stuff. And it's also totally fine to try a thing in gaming and say, I don't like that. It's totally legit. I tried to play Dungeon World, and it's not my bag. I didn't have a lot of fun doing it. I had fun with the players. The game system, meh. I played Fate Accelerated, meh. Wasn't that thrilled with it. Now, granted, I only played Fate Accelerated once, and Tom Flanagan from Knights of the Night, and he ran it, and he said, well, you didn't seem like you had a lot of fun. I said, no, dude, the system bothered me because it felt like I was clunky with it. Like I just didn't know what I was doing. I said, really out of my comfort zone. I'd like to try it again to see if it takes, right? Because sometimes you try to ride a bike, you fall over. I'll never learn how to do this. That's not true. I could figure it out. But yeah, sometimes you might try something. I just don't like that. I played 13th Age, had no fun with it. No desire to try it again. Totally fine. It doesn't make you a bad gamer to say, I don't want to do that. Yeah, Sean thinks it does.
Man, gaming.
I'll tell you what, though, Sean.
Need to ditch the uptightness in gaming. That's all I'm going to say.
The other piece that I really like that Roger mentioned is when he sits down at the table, especially for the first time, he doesn't know the world, doesn't know the tropes, and so forth. That's true. I think even in an IP situation, Roger's a Warhammer First Edition fan. So am I. So if we were to sit down and say, hey, we're going to play in Bretonia, and it's going to be in this place, blah, 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 Roger might say, oh, wow, I know this stuff. Great. I start rolling into it, and he's like, oh, you changed that. This is different. Oh, your beastmen do this. The orcs are like that. Oh, it's within the realm of the IP, but you've tweaked it. You've turned it into something else. And Roger may well do the same to me were he to run a game for me. So I definitely see that piece. And it can be, I can also see, and probably this leads into a bit of our topic here, it sometimes takes a while for a group to figure out the tropes, the rails, the world enough so that they can feel very comfortable throwing something out there and not doing the accidental Bodie McBoatface fighter, McFighterton. My guy's name is Stabby, stab 'em all. If you're playing Toon, maybe that's fucking hilarious, but you can get, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a piece of it. Sometimes it takes time to get in a groove with a group. So that's good stuff, Roger. Thank you, man.
Some of us don't have time, Brett.
I ain't got time for that. Shall we move on?
I'm on borrowed time, man. I'm middle-aged. I got less in front of me than I do behind me.
You're middle-aged riding a one-wheel. Yeah, you got less time than I do.
Yeah, about
Shall
that.
we move on?
Yeah, let's get to the main topic. All right, Brett.
All right, you ready?
What are we talking about this week?
This comes up for a few different things. Sean and I have been kibitzing offline about different things that bug us and whatnot. I thought, we spend a lot of time talking about dealing with different issues at the table, problems, problem players, different playing styles. But we don't often talk about trust, how important trust is for a group. And so I wanted to talk about it. And I had, there's a Matt Colville video. We have a link in the show notes called Trust and Earth Elementals. It comes, one of my favorite sayings comes from that. It says, oh no, the Earth Elemental steps on your head to make sure you're dead. Just one of my favorite quotes. Which is why when I got into the first Matt Colville Kickstarter, I made sure I got that T-shirt. So it says that on the back of my shirt. I love that fucking shirt. Anyway.
Like, no, he was, but you got to see the video where he's like, wait a minute. No, like, I'm down.
So, okay, I'll paraphrase real quick. So in the video, he's playing with his friend's older brother. They're in a fight. An earth elemental smacks his character down. The round continues, and Matt says, oh, I guess I'm out of the fight for a while. Turn comes around, the earth elemental goes to attack him again, and he goes, wait. I'm down. I'm out of the fight. Surely you mean to attack someone else. And the DM looks at him and goes, oh, no.
Right.
The earth elemental steps on your head to make sure you're dead. Which is...
it just kills me. I don't know why. I just get so much joy out of that.
But, so... It's about trust is kind of the gist behind all the bits and pieces. So, Sean, I want to hit you with a gut check question.
Uh-oh.
Let's. Do you trust the group you're playing with right now? Do you trust them? If I were to say, do you trust them? Long pauses before being asked trust questions are usually where's our psych major? Give me an Edwin. Give me Nola. All right, I think this is a sign of avoidance or something.
They'll be like, based on Sean's reaction.
Sean does not trust anybody. Beep.
I do not. I think it's a little kooky. Well, you could trust your entire group, sure, but I think there's always one that you're kind of like, I would have to, and that's right now. It depends on what group you talk about. It depends. What group you're at.
Let's Jeff's group. Do you trust him?
I trust most of them, and the only reason I say most of them is because we do have a new person that's in the group that I've gamed with for a hot 4 hours one day. So their interaction with myself and him have been relatively limited. So can I trust them? I don't think I. And that's another thing too.
It's just a quick question, just a little gut check. That's all.
I feel I have to justify myself.
No, you don't. We'll get into reasons and stuff in a bit here. So,
well, I'm saying that sometimes though people are inherently trusting.
Yes.
Right. They trust people until they give them a reason not to, and then there's people that are cynical of everybody until their trust is earned. I am in the former, where it's like I don't have a problem with a person until they give me a reason to kind of. For me to have a
that's usually my management style. Actually, I do that with my teams. Yeah, similar thing. I trust you to be professional until you prove to me you can't.
Until you dick it all up.
So how about the other group? Doc's group. Is that the other one you play with? Trust those cats?
Yeah. 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 I don't think there's a lot of. They're. I think I can determine. With relatively certainty, everybody's certain play styles and preferences, and therefore, based on knowing those, and they're not whimsical, that I trust that their stuff is the same.
Got it.
That it's that in and of itself.
The consistency helps the trust.
Correct. I don't get like, hey. I played this one character in this one campaign, and now Sean's going to change a different campaign. I'm going to play an evil person because I just want to play evil. I'm sick of playing a really goody paladin, so I'm going to play evil, and I'm just going to wreak havoc because
I can.
Yeah, Brian. I don't know if Brian still listens to the show or not. He was in our group. I'll call Brian out. I don't care. He comments on us every once in a while, but Brian would every once in a while. If you're playing like a factional based RPG, like the Zentrum and Forgotten Realms and shit like that, he would align himself with a faction that is a little bit on the fringe. If not, he's not a part of them, but he associates himself with them. And then that starts to create a weird dynamic with the rest of us who are like all on board with kind of being the goodies or whatever.
We're trying to defeat the Dragon Cult. Well, hang on, man. The Dragon Cult's got beer. I like their beer, man. I bought them around last week. Yeah. So hit me back, obviously. Do I trust my crew? Yes.
Yeah. Do you trust your crew? What? Yep. Okay. Now you game with those guys pretty intensely all the time.
Since 1991.
Yeah. And the other group you would have, I would say, would be like your kids. Right?
Yeah, well, they're my kids, so I trust them mostly.
Right.
They're my kids. That means they're slightly deviant. No, I trust my kids. No problems with that. So let's talk about what this means, right? So we say, hey, do you trust people, whatever. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up before we get too much into it is it's interesting to me. One of the very common things, John Wick has said this, and I've said this offhandedly before. Sometimes one of my gut reactions of, I have this problem player. I'm like, what the fuck are you playing with him for? Kick him out of the group. And we've talked about how hard it is. We've talked about that stuff. And we've talked about people who are terrible cheaters. I've talked about classic cheaters I've had at my table over the years. And part of me is like, what the fuck are you playing with people? If they're cheating and you know they're untrustworthy in some way, shape, or form, why are they at your table for the love of God, right? Or if no one else is doing anything about it, why are you there? Why don't you lead, type of thing. That's always, as we've said before, much easier said than done, depending on the situation you're in.
Right.
So let's talk about trust in the case of an RPG. Right. So one of the reasons why I can stand outside of that and say I trust my group is because we are friends outside of gaming. Right. I have helped these guys move. I've been in their weddings. My youngest son is named after one of my friends. We've been at the birth of children. We've been through divorces. All this stuff we are in together as a crew. We've done all of this stuff together. When
you shared life experiences,
yes, beyond gaming. So we go hunting together. We go fishing together. We go camping together. We do all sorts of stuff. And because of that, it's a tight friendship all around, So if I roll into town at 2 a.m. and I've got a flat tire, I call Beta up and like, dude, he's like, yeah, you're sleeping in my house. That's fine. There's no questions asked. That is different, right? That's a different purview than perhaps people from just an RPG lens, right? So I want to kind of look at it from an RPG lens if we can here, if that helps at all. Because I think if you had Jeff, you've known Jeff for how long?
43 years.
Yeah, if you call Jeff up and like, hey man, I got a flat tire, can you help me out? He might be like, yeah, all right, give me a minute.
I don't know.
Now, well,
maybe
Jeff would help me.
I'd left Jeff hung out to dry when we were younger.
Oh, he's been waiting. That's
a long time
He's been
ago.
waiting 35 years to get you back. He's going to stab the Sean. He's going to get you eventually. He's waiting for you to be
that
really.
one time,
he's waiting for you to get really
Yeah.
low. Crash that one wheel one more time, motherfucker. That's it. You're bleeding. Anyway, let's talk about trust. What it means in a case of RPGs and RPG groups. So for me, I've got a list here. I'm going to bust through them and we'll talk through them as we get.
Does Jeff trust Sean? No Labert pledges.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Well, that is something to be brought up recently, actually. Jeff,
I would say that to answer that question back to my crew, I think the answer is yes because of the other reasons I talked about. We're friends forever, outside of work, blah blah blah. It's outside of work, outside of just gaming. But let's say trust within an RPG context. I think one of the pieces that we adhere to the agreed parameters. And what I say by that is like, look, we're going to play D&D. We're going to play Call of Cthulhu. We've agreed that this is session 0 stuff. We've agreed that this is X card worthy. We don't talk about, and we don't endanger children. We don't talk about rape. We do not talk about these things. These are the parameters we have. I can trust that when I say I don't like that the group goes, okay. And they deal. Right. And it's dealt with appropriately. Everyone adheres to the agreements we've made.
Right. And in session 0, you don't have to spell some of that stuff out.
Yeah. With my group, I mean, it's 91 to now, what is that? 30 years.
It's kind of unless Brett's going to pivot and start talking about some crazy shit or you us off the deep end, that stuff's kind of understood. Like we play together because we're not talking about rape and stuff like that in RPGs. It's,
yeah, we're not here to,
push boundaries and edges. Yeah.
Be racist pricks and no. This is nothing. There's nothing to do with what we do for fun. And I think,
or in real life for that matter.
Absolutely. Fuck yeah.
Like RPGs aside.
Don't be an ass in real life. But the parameters piece, some of it is like, adhere to the session 0 stuff. Give each other space. Hey, we're going to pass the limelight around. We've agreed that we all want to do the descriptions on demand. That's a thing we're all into, and agreeing to that stuff, adhering to it as best you can, being trustworthy in how you behave. And some of it is don't be a jerk at the table. That's another one. And we've talked about that before. That's, don't be an ass. And sometimes that comes down to, saying, hey, man, you're being a jerk, or having those discussions and just being cognizant of things. That's something I like to trust at my table. I want to be able to sit down and know that the men and women I'm playing with are not going to be assholes about it. One of the reasons I liked playing when we were doing the Wednesday evening thing with my Avalon actual play and stuff was, Chris, Andy, Kevin, Tom, we all trusted each other. It was fine. No one was being a jerk. Everything was just working. We get together to play. We had a really good time, talk about this, blah, 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 and just have fun. That's one of the reasons I like hanging out with Sean is, we get to be friends. I trust him. It's probably a terrible idea. Probably going to be the death of me to trust you, but I do. Another one I think is, be a good winner, good loser. Sometimes, your character dies. You don't pitch a holy fit, throw your books out in the snow. Or as AJ did one time, break out. This is when he was much younger. Break into a screaming, crying fit. I've seen grown adults get like sulky and pissy and like throw dice. That's you behave in such a way. It's that jerk attitude. Or if you're winning, as winning, quote unquote, as the game master for pummeling the shit out of people, you don't rub it in, and vice versa, and so on.
In your face, Sean Bull.
That's a different scenario.
Yeah, that is different.
I think you need to believe and be convinced that there's no adversarial activity on either side of the screen, right? No one, and this is a key for me. When I do something to the group, right? So they're in Avalon, they're in Call of Cthulhu, whatever. They try something that they're pretty damn sure should work, and it doesn't function. Oh my God, this doesn't work. I don't get an argument. The laws of physics, Brett, demand that blah, 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 blah. That is absolute horseshit. The spell has worked this way since time immemorial. How dare you? Fucking Bigby's hand does this, this, and this. When I tell them it doesn't work, they go, that's weird. Shouldn't it work? And I say, yes, it should. You don't know why right now. You obviously don't have the details. You could try to make a die roll, however we answer that. But there is trust that I am not actively fucking them over for the sake of fucking them over. I'm not doing something for no reason. There's no capriciousness. I'm not acting adversarially, as we tried to talk about a number of episodes back about being adversarial. I also trust that when my players show up, when we've set the parameters, we've talked about stuff, they're making characters that fit, that work within the system, however it is that we have. No one is cheating. We're all going to fuck up on a die roll. I can't do math. If you've ever played with me long enough, we all know Brett sucks at math, especially big numbers, like anything over 5. I'm not good at this. Again,
so you know what to expect when Brett makes his RPG, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to have Alpha check it out for me because he's good at math. It's a coin flip, and even then I'm not that good at it. But anyway, so we all make mistakes, and that's fine, but I'm not worried that I have a colossal cheat at my group who's always undermining, always looking to get something. I don't worry about that stuff. So, Sean, is there anything else when you think about an RPG table that you trust or that you would like to trust? Any other descriptors or things that you think about when you say, hey, I could trust this group because... Stunned silence. You're still stuck on trusting players. I know it's hard for you, but try it.
I think it's a matter of it's a weird dynamic, more so nowadays, and I don't know why. And I think I've brought this up before with you, Brett.
Yeah,
where it's somewhere along the lines, even with older games or starting out earlier in gaming, where rulings over rules and things of that nature, and there was very little for the players to lean on, right? They didn't have a lot of skills. You wanted to do something, you tried it. If you described it and it made sense, that the GM would say, okay, sounds good. You find it. Or, yeah, you realize there's a gel, goop jelly at the top of the door that's going to drop on your head.
So to use the D&D parlance, right? We didn't have a DC check. Not everything was assigned difficulty, and if you roll it, you win.
So there's been this and I say this because I don't know, I can't say for sure. I can't put my finger completely on the fact that this has anything to do with it. But my interpretation is that for whatever reason, there seems to be sometimes in some games in a players versus the GM and vice versa. Like the GMs are not innocent in all this. Even me,
I don't
Brett.
buy it, Sean. I don't buy it. I don't buy you. Any other people maybe, but
I know.
Sean P. Kelly, I don't think so.
I know, man. I know. But, for example, the game group, Jeff's game group, I was talking about something. I'm like, oh, hey, Foundry. I imported all the stuff for Curse of Strahd from D&D Beyond, including maps, treasures, items,
Sweet.
monsters. And I was like, and monsters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, as a game master, should I have said that? Should I have tongue-in-cheek, monsters, hey, I'm going to have monsters attack you.
I would have. Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun. I enjoy it, but
Did someone take umbrage?
no.
No.
Nobody took umbrage, and I think they kind of laugh and they blow it off. But at the same time, there is that, hey, I'm going to throw monsters at you. Where if I was truly somewhat impartial or neutral, I'd be like, hey, I'm then you're very stoic and very like, hey, I got the maps, I got the monsters, I got the tokens, everything's going to be cool. All right. So is everybody cool? And then as you describe rooms or you describe the baddie and you act through the baddie, it's a very GM-centric place. Whereas Jeff and I razz each other all the time. Yeah, Sean, right? And I'm going to go, hey, Jeff, make up 5 characters, just for the hell of it, just in case, right? Some of those things may be taken in jest, but at the same time, could it be? And so having said that, then you get into this weird dynamic because then it's a matter of, well, okay, is any of what Sean, is he kidding? Or is there a little bit of seriousness? Is he really kind of, it's got to come from somewhere,
yeah. So,
right? Maybe. So then all of a sudden you get into this weird dynamic, and that's where I think sometimes trust will start not breaking down entirely, but then it's like, well, oh, come on, man. Come on. One more guy comes out of the doorway.
Yeah.
Come on.
I have had periodically, I'll get you do realize we're first level, right? I'm like, yes, I do, but you're tough. Like, Christ. I will get that periodically, but it's always been okay, how do I do this? So that's always fun to do. Razz each other back and forth. Really, we're only first level, Brett, you Duke. You dumbass douchebag. What are you fucking doing to me? But because I've known this group for so long, it's very easy. I'm like, trust me, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Trust me. You got it. Yep. All right. Yep. We do. I've hit a point with my home game group that I can say stuff. And I think when I played with the Wednesday evening crew, I could pull stuff out and they'd be like, wow, that's great. Oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen. Oh my God, holy shit, what's that? I played with you, Wayne, and Papa Swick, and last time Joe was in town. And I threw crazy shit and we had fun and we did different things. And we all trusted each other. No one assumed if I cackled with glee as the bad guy whacked the crap out of Sean's guy, like, ha, ha, ha. Everyone who was in the moment, it was nothing personal. Some of that is the 4 of us have known each other for a number of years now, talk offline, we hang out, we've done other things. But I think sometimes when you only gaming with certain people, right, the rapport you have with them is always seen through the RPG lens, right? So depending how your personality is, what kind of sense of humor you have, and so forth, if you don't have a lot of experience getting to know people and figuring some of that out, it can be difficult. And you could inadvertently say, he, I got a big monster for you. And some people are like, oh, fuck, great. Spent all this time in this backstory, fucking useless because Sean's just going to kill us anyway. Brett's going to just fucking murder me. I can see that happening. Yeah.
It's I don't think it is the ongoing theme. I don't think and I think it's taken differently depending on who the individual is.
Yep.
Because I think so, and it depends on that relationship. So if I was invited up to Brett's game in Wausau, then it's a matter of I'm an outsider, right? So to speak. And if one of Brett's friends was running a game, and I know some of those guys, but I don't know them like as well as Brett.
No,
or
obviously,
even,
yep.
And so then I would come in kind of reserved, try to feel out the table. But if I showed up in that Dungeon Master and Lenny turned to me and said, "Oh man, you're in for a treat," right? And or you might be my 12th victim.
Could be you.
I'm like, I got all these tick marks right here. See, you're right, Sean, newbie number 12 right here. Then it's gonna be. Then I'm like, I don't know if I can trust this guy as a game master. Like, is something at the table being driven by an ulterior motive?
Yeah.
Is Lenny out to get me? He's out to get me. Or is he just being tongue in cheek? Now Brett would say, he's just messing with Sean. Right? He's not really gonna. I mean, he'll probably bring a bad guy to the table, but he's a good enough game master that I know he's gonna roll the dice. He's gonna let it fall where they may, and so be it. He's not out to actually kill Sean's guy intentionally.
Correct.
Right. But
However,
yes, I don't know that, and so that's a trust thing. There's but there's also like a lot of. I don't know. There's sometimes so for example, I run for patrons. Ran Mothership, running Delta Green now. Some I've gamed with before. Hobbs is in one of them. I haven't, Harrigan is, and I haven't played with Harrigan before. I don't know.
No, Harrigan, I think, played with you and me in Tim Deshane's game.
Oh, that's right.
Astonishing Swordsman,
Yep. So, but Curtis Takahashi played in Mothership. I haven't played with Curtis before.
Did. Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer's Hyperborea.
Yes. God, there's an ongoing theme here. Exactly. Sean can't remember.
Which is why no one trusts Sean, because just remember who you are. No, I'm kidding.
I can't remember who you are. Keep going. So, anyways, my point is there's somebody that I'm playing with right now I've never played with before. And those players I have found are kind of like they arrive, they're going to play, they roll up a character, and they're just going to kind of go with it, right? So they could ask me, they could say, "Hey, Sean, I need to understand like what the deal is. So when I make my character, this is what it's going to look like," right?
Yes.
Or they just kind of go, "Well, it's Sean's. It's not going to be a long campaign. It's a couple sessions, and then it's going to be over." So, okay, sounds good. We're playing Mothership. Okay, session 0, we're going to create characters. Great. I create a character. I show up. I absorb it and go with it, which is great. I'll bring up Jeff recently. I'm going to put Curse of Strahd and Eberron. Jeff is not a fan of that because he thinks I'm mixing pulp noir and Eberron, which he kind of equates to. It's got a steampunky feeling or whatever.
He doesn't like it, right? It's not a setting that sings to him at all.
It's not his thing. Jeff doesn't mind. I don't think he minds Eberron. I think he minds Eberron
the two together
and mixing gothic horror. Doesn't gel. Like, hey, if you ride Bram Stoker, there's not lightning rails, even though you could argue there's a train or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? There's just a weird mishmash that is not his preference. And so if you've ever played Curse of Strahd, spoiler, you don't have to take, it's not going to, like, Barovia it doesn't incorporate like...
It's a demi-plane of dread. You're somewhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't bring in Forgotten Realms stuff or Eberron stuff.
No, you're in the demi-plane. That's where you are.
You could set it in Dark Sun, and then all of a sudden you're in Barovia. Like, okay, hey.
It's fine. Yep.
Sorry if I ruined it for you. So the whole, that piece, so when I talk to Jeff, and I've known him for a long time, that part of trust is kind of like, dude, bring it down a notch. Trust that the game is going to be Curse of Strahd. I'm going to play and run it in the spirit of gothic horror. There's going to be undead. There's going to be villagers. There's going to be the land of Barovia. The stuff from I6, right? I6?
I think so.
Right? That's the original module,
so,
yeah. The stuff we did back then, some of that might carry over, man. There might be some cameos.
Yeah, there you go.
From your old TV show, right? Just so Jeff will, like, he'll come down off that ledge because I know him, and that's the way he rolls. Like, I just call him up and go, "Dude, you're going bonkers for no reason." But
there's also
Stop.
a trust comfort level that he has with you where he can do that and not say, "it doesn't sound like fun, I quit."
Fair.
which is some people would. The fact that he is willing to come to you and say,
Right.
I'm throwing a yellow flag in the play. I'm worried, concerned. You then have a chance to react and say, hold tight, big guy. I got this. And I think, when we talk about, why the hell would you play with people you don't trust? Which is a thing that has been in the back of my head ever since I started playing and thinking about games and running in with different people and stuff. In pickup games, a con game, unless you get really lucky and everyone who shows up at the convention game are people you've played with before. Games with folks who aren't friends in quote unquote real life. I know a bunch of BSers and stuff, and we've talked at different times at cons, talked about wives and kids and schools and jobs and all sorts of stuff. But sometimes you show up at a game and you're like, we don't hang out in real life. We've never gone out to the bar together. I don't say, hey, let's go get dinner. Hey, you've been to my house type of thing. There's lots of reasons why we play with people that aren't like intimate, close friends or within this wonderful little trust bubble we can put together. But I think sometimes some of the tools to help build that trust is important, because you can get there. You can get us at the table to trust you and that you trust them. I think one of the things, Sean, is your reaction to Jeff, in my opinion, is solid, because you let him blow up a little bit and said, hey, big guy, it's cool, man. We got this. Trust me. There's going to be this, this, and this. I have all intents and purposes to say I'm going to be over here. All intentions, we're going here. We're just going to start with this thing. It's going to be cool. Let's give it a shot. Which is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, fuck off.
Right.
You don't like it, leave. You don't like it, leave.
Well, I do that too. But
Well,
I
it's
know
Jeff.
Jeff will never take me
yeah.
seriously. Like,
Exactly.
What? Seriously? Like, yeah, Jeff, go screw yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hey, man, I was
go
just
to hell.
kidding. I'm willing to play. It's cool. All right, then.
I have had my crew look at me and go, oh, geez, I just think, I don't want to play Call of Cthulhu right now. I'm like, hey, look, I got an idea.
And that's okay.
Let's see this out. Or
Right.
if you don't want to play, that's fine too. We're still friends. If you want to set this one out, that's totally cool, dude.
Right.
It's probably going to run for 3-4 months, and then we'll be back. Cool? I'll try it. Whatever. You did something for me. I'll try it for you. Do. The expectation discussion, talking about different tools, X cards, and so forth. I think part of it, frankly, is when you show up, is having a compromise approach, being willing to compromise and have the give and take. Because when you show up at the table, and the cool things I liked about, I've only had the opportunity to run one game for patrons, and I ran a nice Avalon game. Millibert was in there, a bunch of other folks were having a really good time. And there were some thoughts and ideas. I'm like, I don't know. You know what? Let's go with it. Let's try this. And I work things a little bit different. I tweak things around, and everyone was willing to compromise with me. So we had a hell of a good time. I had a lot of fun with that. I found that every convention game I'm at, that I have a really good convention time, the table also wants to compromise. We'll be doing something. And I remember distinctly, I think Eileen and Jen were at the table, and I was running Avalon game, and we were going, and they had a really good idea, and somebody else, another BSer was there and like spouted out something really cool. And Eileen's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, hang on a second. Your idea is really good. I am sorry. And he just kind of went, nope, your idea is better than mine. I'm just being loud. And it was like
I think I know who that was.
It could have been either way, both ideas from what I'm like, okay, but it was one of the places where he's like, you know what? I've had a lot. Let's pass this over here because Eileen's got a really good idea here. Let's go with that. Well, I don't need to jump in and have a whose idea is better discussion. Let's just compromise and let it go. So that approach I think is huge. And if you approach a gaming table with kind of a compromise attitude, perhaps, and not like you're giving up on everything. There's certain things that are going to be like flat nose. Like, look, I don't want to deal with racism, rape, dead babies. You have your shit. You're just not going to deal with. 100%. Do not give ground on those things. Don't do that. But when someone says, hey, I want to make, a Warforged ninja, and but he's been dropped in the Forgotten Realms. He also spent some time in Dragonlance. You're like, okay, hold on. What exactly are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? Work with them, compromise, and get people. And that person should then say, well, I like this idea of being a crazy outlander, kind of like this type of blah, blah, blah. We can do that, but let's do it this way. Oh, cool. I'm in. That approach, I think, leads to better friendship at the table, and I think leads to having more trust. And the more trust you have, knowing that there's a compromise, and when the game master then comes up with this really crazy ass, really, Brett, we're only first level. Really? There's 10 of them. You've built trust because you've already compromised. We helped you build your characters together. We helped do all this stuff. We're in this together. This isn't us against them. And I think by approaching it as a very much group activity, we're all here in charge of making sure all of us have a good time instead of just looking out for yourself type of thing. I think that really elevates the trust level at the game. Right. And sometimes it's as simple as the game master, you say, look, I run a deadly game. I'm just going to tell you right now, life is cheap. And what I mean by that is 0 hit points, you're dead. There's no -10. There's no con roll. There's no death save.
No death saves.
0 is dead.
Joe Manganiello, man, better call him up. Change his line. Change his fashion line to something else than death saves.
Yeah. But somebody might be like, well, that's really not 5e. That's kind of, but that's just how I like to do it. Well, can we, and then again, come up with something that everybody can live with, especially if you want to play with these folks, right? And I think that's the other piece is if you sit down to have to play, you should approach it like, I want to be here. I want to be here. How do we make sure that we all have a good time together? And I know that may sound kind of corny or overly simplistic, but I have found the people that have not done well at tables I've been at, either as a player or a game master, are people who don't want to compromise. Look, I want to make a Warforged ninja who's from the moon, and that's just what I want. Anything else is stupid. Like, dude, really? This is what you got to do? Does this make sense, Sean? I'm not trying to overly kind of kitschify this thing, but I think it matters. And I love the example, honestly, that you gave about Jeff. He gets to go, Jesus. You go, hold on.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's wrong to voice your opinion or your preference. That is not what I'm getting at. Jeff got something to stand on, for sure. The only thing is
it's so cool that he did it, though. Instead of just harboring this deep-seated, this is fucking dumb.
Yeah, he's going to show up with a chip on his shoulder every time we roll dice.
Just angry about it right out of the gate. Yeah.
So, which is great that he brought it forward. The thing is he's standing on the wrong rock. Like, dude, you're getting upset about the wrong thing. Like that. It's not a factor in this particular instance. Like it's founded, but it's really not. Like, you're not going to be in Eberron for more than a freaking hot 10 minutes. Trust me. I'm going to zap you out of Eberron pretty goddamn quick.
But the fact is, you got to say that to him, right? You explained it. Like, oh, cool. And he didn't like show all the cards in your hand. You didn't wreck the campaign by laying that on him. You're like, hey, man, don't worry. Here's how this works. Oh, cool.
He stewed on it for a while. I know that.
Fair enough. But the fact that you've got players, if they complain, like, I don't know if I like, or I'm having a hard time accepting, or, this description on demand thing just really irks me because I don't mind if other people at the table like it, but I don't. Right. If you come up with a compromise approach and attitude, the game master and your fellow players would be like, oh, this person's coming in this vein. We want to, do this. I'm not talking about the X card worthy stuff.
Right.
When somebody's like, well, I just like talking about rape. Fuck, dude, we had this discussion, right? We don't, again, there are certain things that are just, if they're flat out, they're flat out. You have a moral stance. That's not even what we're talking about here. I'm just talking about preferences and things, I always fiddle with my dice. Well, dude, the thing is, you're always fiddling with your dice. And then whenever it's convenient, you always call, 20, right? Just don't do that. We don't want that at the table. Somebody might think you're cheating. Those are different conversations. Those can be hard. We all know, probably everybody's been tempted at some point to fudge a die roll, to cheat, because it'd be cooler. Sean.
What? Would never happen at my table, Brett. I don't know what you guys do up north, but
never. Well, it's cold up there. We get
my players.
All right.
To be on the level in that regard all the time.
All right.
All the time.
But I think not every trust conversation is like trust fall. It doesn't have to be this huge piece. We want to at least get to it. Maybe that's what you got to do. Trust falls at every game session. That's it. Come here. Trust. I'll catch you. I swear to God.
Everybody, soft start at 10 o'clock. Trust falls. Kicking the campaign off at 11. Come on now.
Yeah. I'm not a small man. That's not necessarily good to do to certain people.
Brett's gonna go first, so we need everybody to show up on time so we can catch Brett.
Catch the big Polak before he hits his head on the ground. where's I going? So I think it's not like if you, because quite frankly, honestly, if you're playing with people that you don't trust or acting untrustworthy, I think that is probably, and maybe I'm oversimplifying here, but I often get to when a problem player, a style issue, whatever, I hear, and sometimes I when I'm listening through, I'm hearing a note of, I don't trust him, her, this person, they don't, I don't believe they have this. You know, there's a trust factor in a lot of the problems. And sometimes the trust is, I don't think that if I explain this to them, that they would even listen to me. They don't trust that that person would even take criticism, that I could even bring up a problem, right? So again, I go back to the Jeff example. The fact that if he stewed on it for a while and he said, you know what, he trusts Sean enough, he's going to bring it up. That's cool. That's pretty cool, because there are plenty of players who will stew on shit. A lot of people, I mean, people in general.
That's what I do.
Again, we're just
I do that. I stewed about Jeff being pissed off. What is he all pissed off about Eberron? Fuck up, Jeff. Jeez.
Christ's sake, man. Anyway, does any of this make any sense, Sean? Does this?
It does. It's a big deal, but it's all about this weird chemistry thing, you know?
It is. I mean,
yeah.
If you don't, I mean, at the end of the day, if you really, I think what I'd like to say, maybe this is stronger sounding, or maybe it's not strong enough, is if you've got people you don't trust, you shouldn't play with them, quite frankly. I mean, that's just, this is time, effort, energy, a lot of fun you're putting into this as a major hobby. If it's as major hobby for you as it is for me, you've spent an obscene amount of money on this thing over the years, or even if you're just getting into it, you're spending hours weekly thinking, plotting, planning, hoping for the next game, having a good time, reading stuff, pulling all this crap together, and to have it ruined, you know, to show up and say, wow, I don't trust these guys. I don't trust this group of people, or I don't trust these three people, whoever it is. That sucks. That's a crappy way to have to game.
It is. And I feel bad when I hear about folks that are like, I game with my friends. They only want to play D&D. I want to play other things, but I can't, you know, how do I get them to play D&D? I don't know if you can, you know, but I can't play with anybody else. Why not? Well, maybe there's a physical reason, like, you know, or I don't have internet. I don't play online, whatever.
Yep.
But it sucks to hear when people are kind of backed into a corner. Like, oh, I've been so fortunate in gaming with so many good people. Now, not all of them they're all good people, but some just don't play in the same style. And so, you know, Jeff's character got blown up by a stun grenade because we have a drop in one of our Star Wars games back in the Living Force days, and he just will not live that down forever. And some of the people that were at the table will never, ever live it down. And we just make fun of him all the time about it. Like, I put a stun grenade right here, and it's just like record scratch because So
that's funny.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so trust.
Yeah, I and maybe folks out there think this is too odd of a topic, or they don't think it up. And Sean and I could have fumbled our way through this as we have done in the past. So let us know what you think. And I apologize for my audio problems earlier.
Sorry.
Internet died on me.
We'll
but anyway,
sew it together.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sean. We did all that hard work at the beginning, and then
you know, there's like people are like, "Hey, Brett's getting choppy," and I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, I cannot control anything on the Brett side. Like everything's fine, I think.
As soon as you said, "Hey," and I got it, your internet connection's unstable. I'm like, frack.
Yeah. It's all right.
Anyway, let's move on to Driver. Let us know what you all think. Obviously, we want to hear.
Yeah,
we got smart folks out there. Tell us what you're noodling on.
Die roll 2d4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery. Small list this week. Brett put in the first one.
Yep.
Matt Colville's Trusted Earth Elementals, which was a little bit of inspiration on this episode. Encounter Library YouTube channel. I'm dinking around with Foundry. Encounter Library has some very good videos on how to set it up and how to do things. I've learned a lot. So thanks to Encounter Library for doing all that. And if you are exploring Foundry, definitely recommend his YouTube channel. And then the last link is to, I thought I posted this. Maybe I didn't. Foundry Virtual Tabletop. I don't know. I was struggling to come up with that stuff.
I threw that one out there because I wanted to make sure we brought up at the beginning. So I just tacked that one out there. So
yeah, so that's it. And then probably the last one, if you're living under a rock and don't know, Rime of the Frost Maiden's been released. Brett is going to run that. You're going to run it by the book, Brett?
I think so. I'm really interested. I want to run a published adventure.
Okay.
And this is like in the sweet spot for like levels too. It's like levels 1 through 10, 1 through 12 type of thing. It's not like up to 20 or 15. It's in the sweet zone for me. So
part of me,
I'm really excited about it, which is why I dumped the money on the platinum version, because I wanted to get my hands on it.
Part of me wants to run it in parallel with Brett so we could compare notes.
Not a bad idea, man, actually.
Or even get a group of DMs that want to run it and can kick it off within like a week or 2 or 3 of each other and just compare notes. I don't know. Set it up on Discord. People can rap about how everybody's approached things.
Get together. What the hell did they do the owlbear? I don't know what they did. Jesus, they have owlbear pets now. Why do they have owlbear pets? Who let them do that? That was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I already committed to Curse of Strahd, so I can't change gears with those guys. But maybe, I don't know, if I do another group.
Sure you can.
I don't know.
Sure you can. Surprise, guys.
Yeah. Everybody, we're going to start in Eberron, and you're going to head north into the ice. Yeah. Going towards a place called Icewind Dale. All right. Brett, what are we talking about next week, man?
GMing for cash?
Uh-oh.
One of our listeners brought that one up. And I'm like, oh my, that is a topic Sean and I have talked about before, as far as like, should we talk about that? I don't know if anybody cares. And then somebody brought it up. So there we are next week.
I'm going to point out how you can become a professional dungeon master.
Well, let's see how it goes. Cool, man. Save it for the show.
Yeah. That was one of the questions in the Roll20 survey I took.
Mm-hmm.
It was in there. Like, hey, have you considered becoming a
GMing for cash?
GMing for cash, or like being a professional. Anyways, hey, this has been an episode of Gaming and BS. Thanks for everybody that's tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for listening to us and tuning in and everything, and all your help. We appreciate it, and all the support. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good gaming all.
This episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following producers: Graham Meinert, Corey Wynn, Jared Rasher, Ray Otis, Old School DM, Jason Hobbs, Andy Hall, Roger Braslett, Chris Steele, Larry Hout, Eric Frankhouse, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Stefan Dragonspawn, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, CW Mellencamps, Dan Lavallee, Craig Huber, Ron Bishop, Old School Scouser Roleplaying, Jim Fitzpatrick, Mark Richmond, Thomas Hook, Sky, Craig, Howard Bishop, Jeff Seifert, Angus, Eric Salzweedle, George Sedgwick, Robert Nemeth, Brian Kurtz, Laramie Wall, Perry Besor, Eric Avia, Andy Olson, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Niall Diamond, Jeff Goad, Brian Rumble, David F. Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Bashinsky, Henry Newcomb, Eric Tavola, Who's Carl, Mark Sohm, Ghost GM, Mike Hess Jr., Rory Weston, Curtis Hinson, Jim Ingram, Daniel Garrett, Jason Weeb, Dollar Adventure Frameworks, Phil McClory, Jay Plata, The Duke in Purple, Isaiah Aries Christian, Obscurus Dominus, Chad Gleeman, Josh Wallace, Adam Grote-John, Ed Nyes, Michael Dinos, Brett Pazinski, Corey Welch, Mirko Froelich, Rich Wishan, Joe Swick, and Curtis Takahashi, and Aaron Ralia. Hey, thanks for your support. It's been 6 years since we dropped episode 1. Thanks for being along for the ride. If you know somebody that might like our podcast, let them know about it. Thanks, BSers.
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.